while ago I asked what you guys wanted to see, and now I'm giving you what you asked for. To get started, I opened up my flipaclip and set up my animation environment. After I had done that, all that was left was to draw something in 1 second, because let's be honest here, it's almost impossible to pull anything off in a second. Here goes nothing. Okay, so for the 1 second attempt, I was able to draw this thick man. Someone tell me it at least looks like a punch. For the 10-second attempt, I'll make the stickman do double combos. Nothing serious. I hope I can pull it off. I'll use 2 frames per second as the frame rate. Of course, the proportions suck badly because I was in a rush to finish up. Well, this was all I was able to accomplish in 10 seconds, like a double punch combo. Low-key kinda hard though, don't you think? For the 1-minute attempt, I wanted to animate the stickman charge up then throw punches. It sounds like a lot to do in a minute, but let's see if I can pull it off. Before I get back to animating, I want to give a shout out to Mimi Animator. Y'all go check him out and tell him Lil Mation sent you. Spam his comments. Now, back to the video. I already explained the idea for the 1-minute animation previously. The goal was to make the stickman charge up then throw punches. I honestly don't know if I'll pull it off in a minute, but I'll at least try. I'm not gonna lie, when I checked the time I had spent just animating this part, it was quite obvious I wouldn't finish the animation, but I kept pushing. I didn't plan to give up until my time was up. Well, you guessed right, I wasn't able to pull it off. I think I'm slacking on my animation speed. Anyways, here's the result. I used a frame rate of 15 FPS. I was only able to animate the stickman charge up and throw a punch. It looks kinda awful to be honest, but I guess this goes on to show that animation shouldn't be rushed. You can probably tell by now that all the animations done so far don't even have head on the stickman. Well, all that's about to change for the 10-minute attempt. I'm finna lock in. For this 10-minute attempt, I didn't want to play around. I immediately got to animating the stickman throwing punches. In under a few minutes, I planned to finish up the whole animation and use the last few to hit heads. I wanted to first punch to entail heaviness, so I made the stickman throw up his hand to gather momentum and to show the anticipation in packing the punch. After throwing the first punch, I decided to make the stickman jump upwards, throw a kick, and fall to the ground. That's the best I could come up with in 10 minutes, and it looked very achievable. I found time to slip in another punch, so I did. After that, I then moved to animating him jump up for the kick. For the second punch, I also wanted it to be heavy. I animated the stickman withdrawing from the first punch, and as he was withdrawing the first hand, the other hand was packing the punch. Seeing that I had under 6 minutes to finish up the whole animation, I quickly got to animating the jump kick. This jump kick was the stickman sort of falling at the same time. So as he jumped up and made the kick, he was falling to his back at the same time. This was the easiest way I knew to end the animation and make enough time to hit heads and tweak the animation. After he swings his leg for the kick, he falls to his back, and I animated him bounce off the ground before finally laying still. That's the fastest idea I could come up with to end the animation and get to adding heads to the stickman. Looking at the time and seeing that I had about 3 minutes left to finish the animation, I started panicking. At 2 minutes, I knew I had no other thing to do than to add heads to the stickman, and hopefully, if I made it in time, I'll add the swing effect to his kick and punches. Surprisingly, I noticed that I would be able to finish adding the heads and even have enough time to add the swing effects to the punches. With just about a minute left, I got to adding the swing effect to the punches and to the kick. After that, I adjusted the timing, exported the project, edited it, and it was ready. Let me know what y'all think about the animation in the comments. I mean, it's somewhat decent. I think it's not a lot, but when given 10 minutes, there's only so much one can achieve. Finally, we're at the 1-hour time frame. I didn't even have a planned out animation. I just went with the flow for this one. I hope you enjoy the process. I also forgot to start the time lapse for the first 15 minutes of the animation, so we're left with about 45 minutes of footage. In this frame, the stickman was dashing into the air, so I was animating some smear frames. I had almost finished up with the black stickman's movement around this time. I wouldn't call it a smear frame, it's more of a blurry frame, but I guess that counts too. After I had finished that smear frame, I immediately went to working on the kicks and punches swing effect. They add some spice to the kick. So yeah, I wasn't going to animate without adding them. Adding smears in took only about 3 minutes of my time, giving me enough time to work on other parts of the animation. Finally, it was time to animate the red stickman getting his ass whooped. I animated the keyframes first for this one, then went on to add some in-betweens. The red stickman got the first kick to his face, so I animated him taking the kick and jumping back slightly. Before he could even get enough time to react, the black stickman already was going in for another kick at his knees. As I animated him get to the ground from the face kick, the next frame I was animating him getting another kick to his knees immediately. The black stickman low-key cracked for this. After getting kicked, he immediately gets grabbed by the black stickman and flung forwards. Zero reaction time whatsoever. As he gets flung, I animated time slow down and made him fall forward in slow motion. This part was somewhat easy because all I needed to do was to animate the red stickman on threes. Meanwhile, as the red stickman was falling to the ground, the black stickman was already going in for another diabolical kick. I checked the time and saw that I had about 30 minutes left to finish up the animation. Considering how far I had come, I wasn't panicking, because I was somewhat ahead of time. At this point, I had completed the red stickman's movement. I was just adding some in-betweens and adjusting some frames. At this point where he got flung, I wanted to add some smear frames or blur frames, whatever you choose to call them. I saw that I had about 25 minutes left, so I sort of rushed this part. I used another 2 to 3 minutes to finish up the in-betweens. I mean, I still have to add heads, a background, and some effects. With about 20 minutes left, I started adding heads to the red stickman's body. Adding heads to the red stickman took only about 4 minutes to complete. After the head has been added, I moved to adding the background next. Now for the background, I checked my time and saw that I had about 16 minutes left. I immediately realized that it was too late to draw something fancy, so I went with the classic white and gray background for depth. I used the airbrush to do this. The background was added in about 2 minutes, leaving me with enough time to animate effects for when the red stickman got kicked or punched. The effects weren't hard to animate. In just 3 frames I was done with them. After I had added the punch and kick effect, I checked and saw that I still had about 10 minutes of time left, so I decided to throw in some dust effect into the animation. I was risking it all by adding dust effects, because animating effects like this takes some time, and time wasn't something I had enough of at this point. But sometimes you just gotta ball up top. I decided to only add the dust effects at points where the black stickman threw the red stickman and when he jumped off the ground. With about 5 minutes left, I was still battling the dust effect drawing. I was going as fast as I could at this point. One reason I wasn't panicking was that I was sure I was going to finish the dust effect animation, and it was all that was left. So I took my time even though I didn't have any. Oh, I also forgot to add that anyone can make animations like these on their mobile phones or devices. Just install the flipaclip app and get to learning with the tutorial playlist in the description below. After I finished animating the dust effect, I exported the project, edited it, and this was the result. Well, that's all I was able to achieve in 1 hour. I hope you all enjoyed the video. If you did, slap the like button and check out more here. See you next time!